get started. Let's share this screen really quick. Boom. All right, cool. So we jumping into this, Bex and Steven. We going to basically split it up. I'm going to take the first part of it and talk a little bit about the professional sort of school train that I took. Started off working at it from home, but then I went to school, and then Bex did more of the DIY version, on the job version. And we're just going to kind of give you a sense of those aspects and how you can be a special effects makeup artist in whichever way you choose. All right. Viewer discretion is advised. Some of it will be a little scary and a little bloody, but don't worry, it's fake, right, Bex? it is for sure. All right. See if I get this here. Okay. So just figuring out, and you can message in the chat section there, like, are you self-taught? Are you a brand new makeup artist, part-time, full-time? What's your vibes? Why are you here today, and what it is you hope to learn? Are you a fashion makeup artist and you really want to get into special effects makeup? What it is you really want to get involved in? Or is this your first time and you just realize, you know, I really want to get into makeup, and maybe you're looking for a change in your career? You never know. So some people are always wondering, Bex, is true, like, can you make money doing makeup? We could answer that a little later today. How can you get on big projects? Is your work good? I mean, that's always subjective, but you know, how can you make your work better? And Bex and I could share some tips on that, how you could get to the next level and make some money too, right? And can someone teach me that? People's always try to figure out how to get to the next level, for sure. Why is this important to you? I hope you have a passion for it. That always helps, because being in the arts is always that kind of, you know, you have to inherently promote your own passion and what it is you really like. And you've probably been looking at a lot of YouTube videos and trying to learn how to do it professionally as well, or realistically. That is something we could talk about. And of course, are you missing out on projects because you're maybe just doing fashion and beauty or bridal, but you haven't really dived into the special effects end? So in this particular session or showcase, I'm going to show you 5 basic products that I use to most times in my career. And Bex is going to show you how to use some zombie DIY supplies, and she has like five supplies. Bex, you want to talk a little bit about the DIY supplies that you'll be using, some of them?
So today I'll be using corn syrup. We have some red food coloring, green food coloring, some medical tape, acrylic fingernails, for teeth, and well, we have latex, and cotton wool. Sorry, cotton.
Nice. All things you could get at home, for sure. Yeah. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. I'm gonna have Reem come in. She's gonna sit in while I show you how I use the 5 basic products. For a long time, that's what I've really been using. You know, I went to school for this, but most times when I come on set, it's these 5 outer kit products. So let me switch my screen so you can get my video.
Can you maybe explain what out of kit means?
Sure, I will. Let me come back in here. There you go. All right. You see? Okay, cool. So out of kit makeup, basically, you show up on set with a kit. This is my kit right here. It's kind of big, but this is my kit. So literally, it means the makeup came out of my kit, so it's out of kit makeup. And most times when you get called to set, that's what you're doing, unless you're doing prosthetics, animatronics, things like that. You have to, you know, be at a workshop and develop it beforehand. And remember, guys, you all could always, while we're talking, you could drop your questions in the chat section and we'll glance over and see how best we could answer them for you. So without further ado, let me just jump in and start this workshop. Products I'm going to use, 5, count them with me. I'm going to be using blood. I mean, every good makeup artist needs some kind of blood. I use this one. It's called Fleet Street. Actually, let me do it like those YouTube, you know. Fleet Street blood, F-L-E-E-T, street blood. I use my Skin Illustrator palettes. This is like acrylic paints, but for your face. I use wax. This is Mortician's wax. So just like what they would use to recreate a body is what I use. You're counting, that's what, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then I'll use a brush. This brush actually cost me $1 Canadian. It's my special brush. Don't need expensive stuff. And to activate the makeup and to also keep your hands clean and your brushes clean, 99% alcohol. All right, so that's 5. Y'all following so far? Let me know in the comment section, okay? All right, so I have my model. Reem gonna join us.
Hello.
Hey guys.
All right. Whoops. Am I gone? Am I still in?
Oh, you're still there.
Okay, I saw something about me being signed out, so I just was like, what?
Oh, I see. Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna start some hand sanitizer. I'm gonna push your chair up a little bit there. Sure. Some hand sanitizer. Always keep your hands clean in and out of COVID. Pin that video so people can see there. All right, cool. All right. Use the alcohol to make sure and clean all your brushes. Hold it away from the person's eye. I have some paper towel at the side here that I'm using on a counter. This is what I'm going to use my spatula to take out some of the wax. The reason why I use it is I don't want to contaminate whatever product I'm using with sweat, with gunk, with dirt. Also, prior to this demo, Reem washed her face. My hands are clean, so we're making sure that we minimize any kind of transference of bacteria or germs, etc. Oh, and just with regards to the COVID stuff, this is my wife, so she doesn't need a mask. We're quarantined together, just for the record. All right, so I'm gonna use a little bit of wax. I roll it up just like this, like a noodle. Okay, and put it on her forehead. This. Use my fingers because my fingers have this natural heat that helps to melt the edge of the wax. And I just spread it across her forehead. Try not to get any hairs into it. Right? And I'm just pressing down the sides, making sure that it blends into her skin. In this particular case, I'm just going to do an incision, just in the interest of time, because I know you all want to ask a bunch of questions as well. All right, so I'm just blending it in, and because her body already is, of course, hot, it also helps with the blending of the wax because it's melting. There you go. See if you lean forward a little bit, Reem. That's what it looks like close up. And that's just the wax. So come right back. The wax is what you would use to basically build whatever effect you want. So if you made this into a circular noodle, so to speak, you could make a bullet wound. Yeah? All right, and then from there, use my spatula again, and I'm going to carve out the incision. So I'm carving out the incision right here. Very sharp, all the way, part the two sides of it, and maybe you can even lean forward a little bit. You could even break up the sharp edges so it looks more natural. Because most times in nature, things aren't sharp or symmetrical. Right, so this is very crucial because you want to make sure and set the foundation for the effect first. You're going to have to build everything on top of this. All right, so I take my time here because you don't want to be trying to fix this after you start painting. It's pressure. Okay, good. So once that's done, we start painting it. Okay, lean back a little bit there, Reem. I use my 99% alcohol. And for this particular model, I'm using this palette here. Okay, they have different palettes for different skin tones. And this is what I would use to activate the palette. Spray a little bit.
That's the 99% alcohol?
Yeah. Trying to get it in people's eyes too. And then this is the part that you have to really train for. It's really about color, because anybody could buy a palette, anybody could buy a brush, but you have to, when I teach classes, I always tell people you have to be able to see the color. You have to be able to know which ones blend well, how much to put. And remember, it's not like you're painting, it's not like you're painting a wall where you can just put one swoosh. If you look at your own hand, or just look at my hand right here, you'd see a little bit of maybe some kind of green going on here, and some kind of like this vein, and then here's darker. So when you're painting, you still have to look at the patchwork and the sort of tapestry of color that come together to make it believable. All right, so just painting. I make a wash. Anybody out there, you do watercolor? It's a kind of wash I do. All right. Oops, some drop in there. All right, lean forward. And I kind of start with the base color. So here we go. I just mix in a stipple fashion. And so boop, boop. Just kind of let some of the paint blend from the wax and onto her skin. Create that kind of broken line illusion, because you're also trying to hide where the makeup, in terms of the wax, starts and stops. That's the real illusion. Trying to cover where the prosthetic starts and where it stops. You all following so far? In the comment section, let me know if you're following so far. All right. Okay. Kamabash says, yep, I'm following. All right. You'll see I'm just kind of, you'll see that blending in. There you go. Just kind of bringing some out across her real skin as well. Don't forget underneath. And this is for any type of skin. It will never just be one color, one shade, one tone. You still have to blend it out and extend beyond the wax or the latex or whatever you're using. Yes, you'll see that? Type a yes, I'm seeing it in the chat section, so I know that I'm not talking to Reem or Bex alone. All right, cool. So then from there, I move over to my FX palette. All right. Again, I'm using 99% alcohol. I'm using the same wash technique. I spray a little bit on the lid, some on the product, and I'm going into the black color. All right. I'm going to now make the depth that is required for the inside of the wound.
What colors are there to mix?
This is just straight black.
Okay.
So I go inside. And I create the depth, the illusion of depth. Always remember, dark colors recede, light colors advance. So that's what we're playing with color here. All right, there you go. So I've made it a little pronounced too because I want you all to see it, right? Of course, you can gauge how subtle you want it based on if it's for a play, if it's for film, TV, if it's for a horror film, if it's for a Lifetime original, depending on what it is, all right? From there now, I go in and I paint in some of the blood palette. As you can see, it's been well used over the years. And similarly, there are a number of different tones for blood. Blood tone, age blood, there's bruised tones, prime red, burnt orange, prime yellow. I'm going to use the blood tone, age blood for this. All right, lean forward there, Reem. Same technique, spray some in, make sure that it's washed, spray away from your model's eyes or actress's eyes, and then I go in on top of the black. So it's giving it some depth now. It's giving it a little bit of depth. I haven't added any fake blood yet. Okay, so let's step back a little bit. All right, just adding a little bit of depth. From here now, you can decide how you want your blood to flow by actually drawing it in. So I want to have some of the blood flow at the side, maybe some at in the middle here. Y'all following?
Nice and glory.
Yeah. All right, so I'm just drawing it in first. And I tend to use my hand, and my concept is, you know, like if you're sweating and you feel sweat rolling down your forehead and you kind of just wipe it, that sort of smearing organic, yeah, just like that, Bex, I try to do. I always bear in mind that forms in nature are either S-like, especially on the face. So it's forehead, and then there's the orbital fossa in here, the eye socket. You come around the cheekbone. Same with the nose, cheekbones. Then you sink at the side here by the nasolabial fold, and you go over the nose bridge. S shapes, right? So no straight lines here. All right. So I do that. Then my final product and fifth thing is blood. Again, I don't want to double dip. I'm using my Fleet Street blood and a Q-tip. Take a little bit out from that. Just enough. And this is like icing on a cake. Put some right in the wound there. Want to lean forward a little bit there, Ian? Ooh, look at that. All right. And then I fill it. I figure out what gravity would do to the blood flow. I use my hand again. I try to have that layered technique. And then I be cruel to whoever is sitting in my chair, because but one thing I want to leave you with as I wrap up this session is don't cover your sculpting with blood. Most people tend to get a bit insecure with what they've designed, or you're trying to hide some edges and you end up using a lot of blood and covering the shape, size, and form of your wound. Be very confident in it. This is supposed to just be very organic, and you can always, again, plan and practice and do it again. Your friends would love to have this on their face and head to any supermarket. All right, so this is basically, I've used these 5 products, and of course you can make an incision with this. You can use these same techniques to make a bullet wound and a number of other things. And most times people, when I first started doing this for about 10 years, I'd be doing this for the most part. So once you master this, then you could use these techniques for anything else. Okay, so I'll just stop for 2 minutes, guys. If you'll have any questions with regards to this technique, anything you want me to go over, let me know. And I could also bring you in. I will unmute you and I'll promote you to a panelist so you can ask your question live if you want. Just let me know in the chat section. All right. Somebody had asked, in the meantime, I'm waiting for somebody. David asked, how did I get into makeup? Got into makeup at the age of 7. I looked at Jurassic Park. I really loved Jurassic Park with Steven Spielberg. I loved how they did the dinosaurs and the whole animatronics, and that inspired me to get into makeup. And like Bex, I started off self-taught, or just using items from home. But I wanted to make Jurassic Park. So I ended up going to school in Canada and studying animatronics there and prosthetics, etc. So that's kind of fast track of how I got started. Okay, Shalisa, you want me to bring you in? Let me bring Shalisa in. Yeah. Unmute. All right.
Don't mind me, I'm just prepping.
Okay, let me bring her in. Okay. All right.
Do her video.
Shalisa, you're live. You could come in whenever you want to, and you could ask your question.
Hi, could you hear me?
I could. Where are you? I can't see you.
Well, video isn't on, it's on working.
Okay. What's your question? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Where do you get your supplies?
Good question. That's a great question. These supplies, I've had to purchase them abroad. They are not available in Trinidad and Tobago, but as you know, with Amazon and FedEx, you could always get these things easily. But none of these products are available in Trinidad. At least these that I'm using, these are more professional grade products. But there are different types of grades that you could get at Samaroo's, Richards, and a couple other local supply stores that Bex could also talk about.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Well, it's 5:30.
I have a question.
Oh, David has a question.
Yeah.
It's 5:30. Thanks, Reem. Let me
Sorry.
switch over. Thank you, Reem. It's
Yeah.
good. Okay. So David has a question, but David, hold that question. We're going to switch over to Rebecca. She has some exciting zombie makeup to demonstrate, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So we'll answer more of the questions at the end.
Great. Okay, so here I am prepping the base for my zombie look. Wait, I'm just trying to get my screen organized here. Right, so like Stephen said, when you use dark colors, it's supposed to draw the color away. Light colors are to highlight. So I'm just doing this here. Right, so basically what I'm going to show you is we're going to make this out of acrylic fingernails that you can get in Pennywise. I got them in Pennywise. Medical tape. So we have this, and that can give you a nice little base, which will give you this. So what I've done with this is I've put the teeth on, I've used the tape to kind of give a nice little texture, and I've brushed it with latex. So what I'll do is I'll stick it on and then stipple it with liquid latex and add some cotton wool to give the texture of rotting skin. And then we'll go in with the color wheel and some blood. So let's hope I can do this in the time frame allotted.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it.
You got it. No pressure. All right. So I've made my base already, and I'm just going to stick it here. All right. I just use medical tape, and usually what I would use is medical grade adhesive if I'm doing like a prosthetic. But this is just a very quick thing, quick yet effective. This is great for Halloween. You know, if you have a little Halloween party to go to and you want to go as a zombie, yeah, why not? So what you do is you stick it on, right? And I'm just kind of going in here with it. I have my latex. What I'll do is I will put the latex on. Now, I don't have time to do this and color it. So what I've already done is I have colored one already. So I'm going to stick this one on and show you basically how to add the latex and some cotton wool to get a little texture, and then color in with some blood and the color wheel. So you take a sponge and you just kind of stipple it in. So it's a little hot and I'm kind of sweating a bit, so it's not sticking as well as it should, but it's doing the trick. Now you can get the liquid latex. I've gotten this liquid latex at Richards in Westmall. You could also order it on Amazon. and it is, I think, $100. I think I paid for it. It's Monster Liquid Latex. Okay, so as we wait for this to dry, I'm going to add a little bit of cotton wool to give some of that awful stinky texture. So you just add the cotton wool, brush it on with some latex. You could dab it on, you can brush it on. I prefer to use these sponges because they're disposable and it's a lot easier than cleaning your makeup brushes. Let me add a little, add some cotton wool here. Oh, it's so nice and gross. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far as application, creating these things go? While I wait for this to dry. Hi, David.
David, what's your question there? That was a good time.
Yeah, that was a good time. Very nice.
Unmute.
Oh,
sorry, not that. Oh, how does your skin feel with all that on your face?
yeah, it's fine. It's very light because it's just tape and plastic. So it's not very heavy. It's not a heavy prosthetic.
Everybody's asking that. How does it feel on your face?
Let's see. It feels almost like I put some Elmer's glue on it.
Let me bring Cumberbatch. You want to come in and ask your question? Let me ask to unmute you. Feel free to come in and ask your question. Sometimes you could use a hair dryer as well, which would help.
Yeah, hair dryer, but
process too.
Stop working. Have to get a new one. Most interesting project. My most interesting project was we recently did a direct TV ad called The Walking Dread, and I was key makeup artist for that. I was makeup designer. So I did 3 zombies, and we used foam latex appliances and water-based palette rather than the alcohol-based palette that Stephen just showed you. Stephen, what was your most experiencing project?
What was my most experiencing project, boy?
Experiencing, interesting.
I was like experiencing. I was like, there's a reason why I don't know which one that is. My most interesting project. There was one I had to make a full prosthetic of a Job Molassie, and
Whoa.
I had to do a life cast. I used life cast, had to do a whole mold and recreate a sort of devil structure, building horns and doing the full dentures and all of that. That was really fun for sure.
Okay, I think I might be ready to go back into this and start coloring.
All right.
Yep, it's dry enough. Okay, so I've laid the foundation here with some cotton wool, latex, and medical tape. What I am using is cream makeup. This is Ben Nye. We have the zombie wheel, which I've put to good use. And we also have here the monster wheel. So I am just going to color. So again, I'm trying to block the light out, create some depth. Could do some yellow and kind of rotting skin. If I'm working on a job, I would use my brushes and cotton wool, cotton buds. They're the easiest thing to use as far as disposable. You know, they're disposable, it's clean, and you get a nice little texture there. So I'm just going in with some colors. This is some red, dark red. I think I need to use the brush for this. Zombies are kind of gray and rotting. So we'll just go with that. So I'm not going to color all the cotton wool. I'm going to just probably add some yellow to that. Give it that kind of sick, ewy look. Maybe give myself some hollow cheeks. Shadows under the eyes. I went from glam to ew in 2 seconds. Okay, so here I'm going to do like a wound. This is going to be nice and red and dappled on the inside. Kind of disgusting. Any pros between. So I'm running out of the dark, but I like to use the dark on the inside of my wounds, just as Stephen had used for his cut. That will kind of give you the illusion of some depth. Go in with, then the white, well, the light colors will then bring the features out a little more. So it'll highlight the skin. And we want to go with some sickly, dead looking colors. A little yellow for some, you know, infected wounds. Yellow.
Just popping in to say, I see some really good questions from David as well, and a bunch of folks. Rebecca should be wrapping up in about 8 minutes, and then we're going to stop and take some questions from you guys. So prep your questions, we're gonna get to them, all right?
Awesome. Ew, so gross, disgusting. Okay, so I really want to kind of focus on this one. Yeah. So there's water-based makeup. There's this cream palette, which is more of a creamy thing. And there's alcohol-based palettes that you can use to apply makeup. They all have their own benefits, and they're all special in their own ways. Okay. So this is a fairly quick, let's see, I want to add some texture here using color. Let's see, let's create a little illusion of skin. Stipple it here. Right. So after this, I'm just going to add some blood and go. Now for other household items you can use coffee grinds. That will give you a nice look for scalps. Coffee grinds. What I'm using for the blood today is corn syrup, regular clear corn syrup. red food coloring and green food coloring. Very simple. What you do is you mix the food coloring into the corn syrup, and the more green you use, the darker the blood. So because we're going with a zombie look, we want to go with a dark, kind of awful blood. So let's just add some blood. And the good thing about corn syrup is that it's edible. So you can, yes, nice and gross. Okay.
See, the same thing I said about that corn syrup life.
So as Stephen also suggested, you need to also be aware of how these things go. Right.
That's funny.
Done.
David is asking, how does it taste though?
It tastes like sugar.
Right? Lots and lots of sugar. Are you finished, Bex?
Yeah, I'm done.
Well, I guess that's one way we could start by answering David's question with regards like what's the difference between pros and cons. For example, that what you call it? What do you use again? What's that liquid you used again? Corn syrup. That corn syrup tastes sweet, and you could get that anywhere. It's pretty cheap. But this tastes really gross. So that would be a pro and a con there.
Dark blood, and it's
Yeah, really, really gross. I mean, there are mouth bloods that would be, on the professional side, but it all depends on your budget and what you're going to do with it. So I know David wanted to talk a little bit about the water-based. I could share a bit with the water-based stuff. It tends to be a bit harder to mix with other materials. And remember, if you do sweat, sometimes it could come off. One of the things I like with the alcohol-based products is that they stay on your face a lot longer because you need the same 99% alcohol essentially to activate it. What's your experience with that, Bex, on using the water-based stuff?
I have some alcohol-based makeup that I use. It was airbrush makeup, and I just put them in little palette things and created my own palette out of that.
Right.
I love them because they are so versatile. You could use it on your foam latex prosthetics, and it lasts.
It does last. It does last.
Less retouching, and yeah.
I also wanted to draw attention to the fact that Bex used basically fingernails, fake fingernails. And what's clever about that is just look at what you have around you and think about how you can paint it, reposition it, alter it to create what you have in mind. Because at the end of the day, we are working in, that form of illusion. So you see, if you put a little bit of paint, if you put a little blood and you position it where teeth should be, all of a sudden fingernails start looking like teeth, So just look around, like sometimes you could use lentil peas, and you put them in a little cluster and you use some liquid latex, and all of a sudden you look like you have smallpox or some kind of skin infection. You put some paint over that, you put some acrylic paint over it, some watercolor over it, and you have something that works. Ashley is asking, what paints do you recommend using on prosthetics?
Alcohol-based. Alcohol-based.
Yeah, you could use. What did you use for that ad?
I'll show you what I used. I used this brand called Endura.
Right, so there you go, Shalisa. You could also use something called PAX, which is a mixture of the Prozaid and pigment.
This was, I actually did a lot of airbrushing on those zombies.
So guys, we have 5 more minutes with you guys, so we really enjoying the questions. Of course, I'm gonna promote Miss Cumberbatch. You wanna come on live and ask your question? Let me send a request. I send it for you to unmute yourself and come on, join us.
Zombie Island.
Yeah, you did. Only what was it last year? Last year I worked with you on that one.
Yeah.
That's fun. She said she's shy.
Another thing, okay, I'm coming back now. Another thing you can use, which is really good for like that awful zombie rotting mouth look, is eating chocolate.
So funny, I can hear your voice just going all the way down the corridor. Yeah, guys. So in terms of you could use anything. What's that you have there? Hershey's. You almost used their fake teeth there for that one. Ew. And what's that? Yeah, that looks very, very gross.
Yeah.
And you see the thing is too, Bex, like guys, remember when you're doing special effects makeup, we have to rely on a host of other things to make it believable. So Bex has, she hasn't done anything to her hair. She has on a pink Golden Girls top. The lighting isn't very super dramatic, but the moment she switches off a couple lights, adds a bunch of red, she works with the wardrobe department and gets her t-shirt torn up and maybe bloodied or dirty, all of a sudden the look you see, look at that. Look, all of a sudden the look starts coming together. So just remember, as makeup artists, you have to be aware of all the elements of cinema, of theater playing for the look. And just like that, the Bex has turned into our very own Walking Dead, right? So David is asking, what materials would you use for prosthetics, like for bones? You could use one DIY way there, David, is some people use PVC.
Ooh, yeah.
PVC could look, or styrofoam.
Foil, if you wrap foil and then you wrap it with masking tape. Cover that with some acrylic paint or latex. The color and texture.
And on the flip end, you could use any kind of polyurethane rubber. So it's basically comes out very hard and you can paint it. Essentially, it's all about the paint job. There are a couple stages in the special effects makeup. There's design, there's the sculpt and the build, then there's the run. So whatever material you use to create the tangible piece of structure. But essentially, the paint job is what's going to create that illusion of if it's heavy or old or rotted, etc. For the brows, do you use stick glue? Like says she uses stick glue for it. What kind?
Whatever I could find.
Spirit gum.
I find, well, I do use spirit gum, but I find sometimes it doesn't quite. I use Prosade actually.
Prosade.
Sticking most things on.
Copy that. Hey guys, thank you so much. Just we have 2 more minutes. So Bex, let them know where they could follow you on your page, right? I know you have a specific special effects page as well, so they could see more of your work and maybe connect.
You can follow me on Instagram at FXBex868. That's FXBEX 868.
Nice. And for me, Stephen Taylor Film, STEVENTaylorFilm, Stephen Taylor Film. You can check me there as well. And of course, we're always doing this kind of fun stuff. So if you send us a message or something, we could always keep you in tune. I also teach a class in makeup effects as well. So if you really, really, really want to learn, maybe you might end up in a class, or Bex, you might get somebody from this, showcase who want to help you on set. We always need some hands.
Yeah, it's always good to have help. Help is always welcome.
Sure. Last question. We have one more. We have 1 more minute.
1 more minute.
All the questions flying in. How do you get your inspiration for certain looks?
I usually just sometimes work on a sketch or just have most of the time I just wing it. And
yeah, inspiration, organic.
use this to make teeth. What can I do to make this look, or how can I do it? A lot of it is just experimental and figuring out, okay, well, this looks nice. Let me try something else. And it's a
Right.
lot of trial and error.
And that's what we want to get to you guys essentially with this particular showcase, is that there are so many ways to accomplish a look. You can use home stuff, you could use professional stuff that you brought from abroad. Once you have a very vivid imagination and you know what you're trying to achieve, it doesn't really matter particularly what you use. I mean, yes, you could get very technical in terms of the durability of the product, etc. But when it comes down to special effects, is how best you see the world and how you use what you have in front of you to make it happen. So Decibel, we want to thank you so much for bringing Bex and Stephen together for this SFX showcase. And we hope you reach out to us, follow us, and we will continue with you on this SFX journey.